Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. I like to start by sharing my tea bag message. I really like this one. May this day be the day to lead us to peace, to happiness, and to joy. It is so, and so it is. Amen and hallelujah. Yes. Definitely received that for myself, and I pray it be true for you as well. Hope you're having an amazing day. I most certainly am. Sun is shining yet again, and I'm always happy about that. So it's just beautiful. I just love how we just got this quick little summer throwback. It's supposed to cool off again soon, so I'm enjoying it while it lasts. But I am very grateful for that mix between sun and breeze that's not quite as cool as fall, the dead of fall and autumn, but also not quite as hot and humid as summer. It's like the perfect balance. All right, so enough about that. Enough about the weather. All right, let's see what we got here today. Let me sit up a little bit so I can get a better shuffle going on. Oh, that was the 7 of Cups, but it went back in. And we got the the 10 of Cups, the 3 of Wands, and the 8 of Cups. Okay. Let's see here. Someone was waiting on some big wish fulfillment. Let's see here. All right, so the 10 of Cups, it can be family, it can be soul family or soul tribe. And the 3 of Wands is like waiting for, being in expectation for something that you have ultimately planned, put in work to receive, or put in some plan of action to receive. We say like waiting for your ships to come in. Out here on the ocean. Oh, that song. What's his name? I forget his name. Kajan. It's not old, but I haven't heard it in a while. I think it's called On the Ocean. Know my ships are coming in. Don't leave me hanging. Been waiting here too long for this moment. My ship has finally come. Something like that. It's a real pretty song. I'll post it on the community tab. So now he's waiting, but then there's a walking away. So what I'm feeling is somebody was in anticipation for some big return, like a big, I keep wanting to say payday, but it's not the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 is more equated to quantity and material manifestation. The 10 of Cups is more about like a spiritual fulfillment, but somehow, and then the disparity between the 8 and the 10 is the 2 of Cups, which is a partnership, which would be represented here. So somebody made some investment or some plan in a partnership that was supposed to bring a big wish. It was supposed to bring a happy ending. Let's say that, a happy ending. Maybe not a happily ever after, but at least some happy ending or some desirable outcome, some favorable outcome that would have been emotionally fulfilling, perhaps even prosperous. But they're still here in this waiting position, and then ultimately walking away, which to me is given that it didn't quite pan out the way that it never came at all, or it didn't quite come in the way that it was anticipated. Maybe some elements of the expectation arrived, but I'm gonna tell you what, it's like when you're waiting on a package and then you get it and something's missing. That's what I'm feeling in this moment, because the Eight of Cups is a lot of cups. I mean, it's only 2 down from the 10, right? But really, the Eight of Cups speaks more to the investment that one makes into a situation. So in this case, perhaps into this partnership, it's like he was putting most of himself into the partnership, and there was a great disparity there, because if you're putting 80% of yourself in comparison to the 10, but you have a partner, that's extremely imbalanced, you know? So he was putting more of himself into the potential of this partnership or this relationship or family dynamic, collaborative. Like I said, it could even be soul tribe. You know, maybe it was a group of creatives that were working together, or just a friend group in general that were in affiliation, working towards some common goal. And it just didn't pan out the way anybody anticipated, or definitely not what he came for, because he's walking away, leaving 8 of the cups behind, hoping that there's something better beyond where he is leaving, you know? So there's that. Let's see. Oh, shoot, too many. Let's see what else we got. That 2 of Pentacles just tried to pop out twice, though. So there's definitely some imbalance here. Like I said, maybe that's more so on the return and reward side of things. Well, that's a lot. I'm not taking no. Should I? I already threw them down. I'll take it. Whoa. Oh. All right, here we go. So we got the 8 of Wands. It's really not that bad. It's just double your pleasure from the top row. Now the energy itself is a little bit janky, some parts of it, because we got the Death card, we got the 8 of Wands, we have the Emperor, the 6 of Cups, the Justice, and the 10 of Swords. So we got 2 10s on the board, first and foremost. Anything else sticking out? 2 8s, so 8 8, 10 10. Okay. Aries energy, Libra energy, Scorpio energy. Yeah. Fire sign, air sign, and water, though. More or less everybody, except for Pentacles. Pentacles is the only thing not on the board yet. So, earth sign. Perhaps there is some grounding missing in this partnership or this family dynamic or friend group. And it's certainly missing on the outcome as it is now so far. So let's see. So the 8 of Wands is fast communication. So it's like, I just really heard like a quick death. Ooh, oh my gosh. Now, I don't always see the Death card. Oh my goodness. I don't always see the Death card as actual death. In a high vibration, it could absolutely just be transformation and an indefinite ending to a situation, which could be this dynamic here. But with this 8 of Wands, almost like pushing this energy forward, this is like spiritual acceleration. And I hear the death angel. That energy is, oh shoot, it's the Pluto square. Let me tell you something, people. For those that are in the upright, I'm preaching to you as the choir, so you don't even have to think about this. But for anyone that is still out there thinking that they're going to hit old licks and old tricks in the name of some diabolical plot or plan, or even in the most curious case of the demise or detriment of someone else, this is the future for that energy. It doesn't matter what force you align yourself with in spirit or in truth, literally spirit or in truth. It doesn't matter what sacrifice you make in spirit or in truth. It doesn't matter what you were able to accomplish in the past in spirit or in truth. The elements and the cosmic flow, as the cosmic current as it is now, is like, it's like they're like adverse charges. The cosmic flow is too positively charged at this time to, well, maybe it's even a negative, because usually the same charges repel, right? But you get what I'm trying to say, is that it's not plugging in that way anymore. It's ultimately, this is like a backfiring of perhaps some magic that's already been expelled. But that's what I'm feeling, because the end result is here to sabotage and betrayal at the Ten of Wands with the Justice card. And with the Emperor card here, to me, is really respect to the energies that have been operating in an overuse or abuse of power. See, this expectation, this entitlement here, that's what this is giving me now that I'm seeing this full scale. There's been energy that's been expelled by way of that Two of Wands that makes someone feel like they're entitled to some return. There's evidence of some power or creativity and overambition that has ultimately been working, not just in a more recent past, but also in a distant past. Like, this is like past lifetime energy. So that's where the delusion of power is coming from. Like the expression of grandeur is coming from, is because there is such an ancient existence of force by way of the Six of Cups. There's so much evidence that it has worked before, whatever it is, that I feel like people are not heeding the signs around them to know when enough is enough now. You can't keep operating off the past as your projection for the future, as your present projection for the future. Anyway, I hear that there's that, let's say, the transformation angel is coming through. And it's like, if you're not operating in the highest vibration at this point and haven't and aren't found to have been so, this is like Mayat. The Justice card here, that's the energy it's giving me right now, weighing your heart on those scales. Is it light as a feather, or is it hard as a rock, is the question. And it's all it is a matter of I'm hearing like what control you took over clearing the karma of your past life experience. See, in this life, and you don't even have to believe in past life as in literally another breath or timeline, but even in your past experiences, given, let's say, the past timeline, the past Jupiter cycle, the last 10, 12 years or so, there were a lot of tests and trials that we all faced. Everyone. It was the ultimate test of who you are, who you truly are in this world, and what energy you choose to expel. And these are the courses of actions that were taken. And this is the Three of Wands, like what I said, like that energy that's been sent out, and now everyone is in expectation for some type of return or refund of their own vibration. The Eight of Swords is the universe answering that call and response, only really returning the energy that you sent out. But it was by way of these, unbeknownst to us in the creative conscious sense, we've all been sovereign in our own spiritual nature. Some of us just have physically or mentally well, in every case, in every way, shape, and form, we have lent out our sovereignty to external forces by way of societal structures, and with the Emperor card being representative of that. We've given precedence to things outside of ourselves as to what controls our life in subtle ways and in, some not so subtle ways. So there's a religious structure, there's the corporations, there's entertainment, there is the justice system represented here. All of that energy, more so, not all of it, but some of it is represented here. These pillars of structure and organization that we have submitted ourselves to, nothing wrong with that, but it's what was the test is how you operate as a sovereign spirit within that function. Like, it's the idea of being in the world and not of it. Of course, a lot of us have, succumbed to the stresses of conformity in many ways and shapes and forms, and there's been grace for that on the most basic and standard level. But then there are some of us that have overstepped our bounds and taken that power, that sovereignty, and abused it, used it to enforce harm or limitation or obstruction against others, instead of using that force and power and control to just build our own platform, to solidify our own foundation, to be an example of what it looks like to be a sovereign spirit in the earth, regardless of what influences sway you one way or the other. That was the disparity in choices there. I said yesterday, it basically was the difference between operating in fear and operating in love. Every choice that we make is between those two polar opposites. So now, what happened was that we were all given the power and authority of our own lives, and how we received that, and how we operated in that powerful force, or how we deflected it and gave it away, or surrendered it to some external force, or again, how we overused that power, whichever side of the scale you fell on, is the determination of justice now. So it's like there were experiences of that powerful force, or of you being the beholder of such a force in other either lives that you've experienced in a different breath of existence, or, as I said, in this past 10-year, 12-year, maybe even 20, 30, whatever, throughout this life experience that you've had so far. The universe is now just shifting in a new direction as we're entering the age of Aquarius, where there is an elevated consciousness about who we are and what we're capable of and all that good stuff. But there was still a responsibility in our hands as to how we valued our own life force and how we expelled it. Some people just had no idea of how powerful they are. Some people absolutely did. And like I said, it was still on account of what you did. There was an atonement that got to happen based off of either, again, the past life experience, if you believe that to be so, or your life experience in general. Maybe some of us have even been through some level of, well, we all in some way, shape, or form, because we've been surrendered to this system that is just steeped with illusions and delusions, more or less. But how you engage that environment, that reality, is ultimately what has unfolded your fate, is what I'm trying to say ultimately. And I know I say ultimately a lot. I hear it back when I listen back. So just bear with me, why don't you? So, and I'm really harping on this past life energy because I think that's the thing to really be thoughtful about, especially between the Emperor and this Six of Cups. I'm going to come back, so I'm going to pull a couple cards more, but there's something to be said about that because, like I said, it's like the Emperor obviously is a powerful energy, right? Like he's he's well knowing. You know, I won't say all knowing, but definitely well knowing about in the position of power that he's in. He has a great bit of intel and authority. These two in the Six of Cups almost seem like a little bit unassuming, you know, which I feel is like the disparity of what I'm talking about, where there were those that knew exactly how powerful they were and the potential of authority that they could wield in the earth, unbeknownst to others. Like, it wasn't like people that knew their power were sharing it in a diabolical sense. They were wielding their power in a very covert way, i.e., your conventional narcissist. But this is more than just a narcissist. This is like, you know, fantastically so, like warlock wizard vibes, to be honest with you. People that know how to manipulate energies for the function of their own egotistical gratification, ultimately, because it's not usually for the good of anyone that is vulnerable to it. You know, that it's not like the emperor in this case was going around telling people, this is what I can do and you can do it too. No, he was just using that power to objectify subjects that were unaware, or even worse, that were, you know, vulnerable to or greatly impacted by his authority in some way. You know, like I said, these are people in the town or in the village that are distant from his position of power, but still greatly impacted by it. They're unaware of their essence of spiritual authority with this cup energy. They're just living life day to day. It's and sandwiched in between the justice card, right? And that's kind of how it is. Like, if you think about how the world is now, the powers that be, as I like to say, the powers that were, shout out to Shavi Zane, who actually is the one who says that, are invested in keeping people docile. Ultimately, they almost look like little kids in the Six of Cups, keeping them stuck in a repetitive regression of past life trauma, more or less, instead of finding their way to their power and authority to break those chains on their lives in this breath of existence, whether it be past life or whether it be literally just past experiences. Is in the best interest of the powers that be to keep that loop going, so that ultimately you will miss an opportunity, self-sabotage yourself here, where, you know, you're entitled to this Ten of Cups energy, right? But you wait and you wait and you wait on it, and it never seems to come, so you eventually just walk away like, the hell with this, you know, and go right back into the system, right? Wizzy headed, but right back into the system that he walked away from. You know, that's the loop that the adverse energies that are operating as in the hosting of our powerful our power structures are invested in. But this death angel energy that's coming through is the justification for the imbalance that has occurred on each account, on both sides of the spectrum. Is balancing out the energy of those that have been impressing this great imbalance, imposing this great imbalance on those that have not been privy to it, and also working to bring justice to those that have been, you know, unjustifiably disadvantaged. So there's that, but there's more to say about this that's hard to get out for some reason. You know what that is. That was a Chariot card that tried to come out. All right, let's see what we got. Here we go. And here we go. And here we go. We got the Four of Cups. Almost get right ahead to him. The Four of Cups, the Page of Wands, the Devil card, the Eight of Pentacles. I'm sorry, the Nine of Pentacles. All right, let's see here. Let me just get two more so I can just finish the row. I'm gonna take that. That's too many. 2 more, please. Make sure I almost put them in upside down again. We're not doing that again. All right, Judgment. Ooh, right up under Justice. Wow. All right, and one more. First of all, just get into that a second. All right, but I'm not taking it, obviously. So that's the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Cups. Is the Justice and Judgment on the horizon. And then the King of Wands. All right, let's see here. All right. So, let me slow this down a second so I can really get to it. We got the Four of Cups, which is about either a missed opportunity, rejection, or being rejected. The Page of Wands, which is a message to expand, perhaps, or to explore. The Devil card, which we know the energy of the devil is more or less limitation, could be obsession, possession, fear. We got the Nine of Pentacles, which is an expression of independence, material and spiritual stability and security. The Judgment card, which is a final decision, perhaps even a regeneration or a second chance. And then the King of Wands, which is the King of Wands. Ambition, drive, courage, protection. Warrior King is the King of Wands, more or less. All right, so what the hell is going on here? All right. Okay, I just heard someone doesn't want to accept their fate. Someone is rejecting their fate. So they're offering, this is an offering. That's a small ass offering, which is probably why someone's looking to make a sacrifice in place of, this just got dark as hell. Now, it went from a universal perspective. Now it's getting personal. Someone, as I said, isn't willing to accept the fate. Remember, I talked about the Eight of Wands ultimately being the energy that you expel. So they walked away. They left this family unit, this whatever association this was. It didn't yield the results they were looking for, so they walked away. And damn, I just heard their life is flashing before their eyes. They know that death is on their ass. And it may not necessarily be actual physical death, but they know that everything that they, like, look, 8 and the 8, it's like that infinity sign, like it's returning, you know, like they tried to escape perhaps the association of whatever was unfavorable here, but it doesn't mean you escape the consequences of the energy that you expelled. And so here's this Eight of Wands card, and it's like it's coming swiftly. It's coming swiftly, and it's on account of, it's either to this Emperor, is it to this Emperor? I think it's to this Emperor. I was seeing the Emperor more as like a figure. I don't know why. I guess that's that inflated ego of him, though, that I was seeing him more as like an establishment, like the establishment, like, you know, the structures, and which it very much so can be, but there is literally an emperor who is trying to escape his fate. Which is the justice for how he just didn't, he had an opportunity to do something different in this lifetime. There's something that he did, he invested himself in, especially by way of some family structure. Perhaps that he was the head of the household of, or the head of this legacy or whatever. He had an opportunity to change destinies for this dynasty, and he didn't. He walked away from, it's like now I'm seeing it as like he walked away short, leaving that dynasty short, where it should have been at a 10. He left it at an 8. He didn't honor that commitment by way of that Two of Cups. He didn't honor that contract. And here's the 2 here. He didn't honor the contract. Like that's why I was going on and on about karma and past life, this and that. Because in this lifetime, this emperor, this is like him when he was young, right? This is what I'm seeing now. He had an opportunity. It's like a regressed memory almost, in a sense, especially when you see the Six of Cups, because it's definitely about a past experience or something familiar that is returning even perhaps. So he had an opportunity to do something different, to make a new plan of action that would have ultimately brought in spiritual fulfillment for not just himself, but clearly a dynasty or a legacy of sorts. But he bailed out. He left. Either it wasn't worth the investment to him, or he just felt like he wanted to be fulfilled elsewhere. And otherwise, the spiritual cups wasn't it for him. Maybe he was more, you know, it was the power. The love vibes was like, you know. Now his way of controlling those love vibes was titillating. That's what this energy is next to this for. So he liked the power and authority that he had to control other people's spiritual essence, their spiritual vitality. That's what it is. But for him to be able to ultimately guide and surge this change in this legacy, like literally to change the fate of a dynasty, he would have had to change, and he didn't want to do. That's the 8, change, new beginning. He didn't want to do that, so he invested all of his energy instead into just ultimately just lording over. Remember I said, like, he has a connection to these individuals that don't even really know their power, so it's like he almost governed over their power. And the emperor in a low vibration, which I'm taking with the death and with the devil card underneath, is someone that absolutely abuses his power. He's out of control in the way of his own self-control, but very much so controlled and strategic by way of controlling others. It's like he can't even control himself not to control others, but he has a hell of a plan and a plot in how to keep other people bound and stuck and subservient to whatever his agenda is, and ultimately feeling like Because this, in the Six of Cups, they don't really even look too bothered by it. It's like that narcissistic vibe that I just kind of like threw out there, but worse. Like I said, it's worse because it's so covert that they actually think they're in good care. Like they think they're in good hands with this emperor. They think they're safe, they're sound, they're taken care of. Look, they got six little cups, not knowing they could have had the 10. They didn't know that that was really their destiny, because he's made it so that they feel content. Like I'm hearing, let them eat cake type of vibes. Like just keep them entertained, give them a little power, make them think they're doing something. But ultimately, he's holding all the power because he's the one that is knowledgeable of the potential of these particular individuals that have no idea of their potential. And instead of him, like I said, sharing that potential and making it common knowledge for everyone, and even helping to guide them along the way as to how to navigate that potential for themselves, he rather, observe them in their menial state. It's almost like amusing to him knowing that he has this information. Like if you can see, he's holding this thing in his hand. It's almost like I forget what it really is by the definition, but it looks like a seed, in this picture. It looks like a piece of fruit or something like that. It's like he's holding their potential growth, and they think that they're growing because they got 6 cups with pretty white flowers, and even the white is a representation of them being pure in spirit, like just unaware, unassuming and innocent in some regard. And he holds this seed, which would be the ultimate seed to actually help them to blossom to their greatest potential. But they could never know it truly without him. It's like he becomes the gatekeeper. He's the key holder, the gatekeeper, and for what? Let's see here, because we got the 10 of Cups. Yeah, it's just he's like a miser. That's what he is. Like he lives off of the misfortune of others. Like he thrives off of that. So even here with the 3 of, it's like he put in a lot of energy and effort toward how to keep people low is the best word. I don't want to say docile, but it is docile. That is absolutely the word. Like to keep them, I don't even know how to explain it. It's so dark and deep. All right, let me move on. But one thing's for sure is that the energy is coming back to him. So where he was waiting on this return, maybe some big payday or payback, I don't know, maybe because perhaps he is the host of a demonic entity with this line up here. So this was it was a sacrifice. So that's why I said warlock or wizard, because a warlock ultimately, ooh, I just heard it. Warlocks, now I don't know all there is to know about warlocks, but from my own intel, they are individuals that don't mind exchanging massive destruction or massive, like their sacrifices. It's not just like, how in the industry it's just like, people, your cousin gets killed or the one member in the group gets knocked off or some, stuff like that. This is somebody that can bring a catastrophic event and it be almost like, that's why they are able to maintain such a high volume of power, because of the ways in which they are willing to ultimately sacrifice on a high volume. Like consider the 10 of Pentacles, the 10 of Wands. I'm sorry, the 10, probably all of that, quite honestly, but the 10 of Cups. That's the spiritual. That's the most important essence of a person, is their spiritual nature, their vitality, their happiness. What did this say again? Lead to peace, happiness, and joy. May this day lead us to peace, to happiness, and to joy. So he's like he's like the henchman of happiness, joy, and peace. But it's in such a covert way because people don't really know that they're being sacrificed, because he gives them enough to overtly be contented. But what they don't know that they're missing is the piece that will ultimately help them to find their way out of this cycle. You know, it's like giving them just enough to be happy with the garbage that they're in. You know what I mean? Like when you just, these people aren't rich, but they don't know that they have a potential to gain more, like to gain wealth and to gain total happiness and contentment and freedom in some regard, because there's someone that's ultimately holding that key. Look, it's almost like it's really like an ankh, but this is like a key in his hand, like someone that's holding the key that could very well pass it on, but that's the sacrifice that he exchanges for his power. And it's something about the way that he does it that's so covert, like so deep and dark and subconscious, that it keeps his targets bound in ways that they would almost never figure out. Because him on the surface, he doesn't look like he's someone, he presents himself to be an emperor. You know, he's honorable, he's trustworthy, he's he's established, he's accomplished, he's the leader. He probably, even in the Aries energy with the Emperor card, he probably projects a certain intimidation so that you wouldn't want to really challenge him. Even if you thought something was sideways, you would, like I said, keeping his subjects docile in some way. This shit is deep, yo. But the good news is that it's definitely time's up for that. But what's happening here, what I was saying, is that he doesn't want to accept his fate here with this Four of Cups. He's rejecting that his time is up, so he's been still trying to keep it going, but for whatever reason he's not able to. That's why I was like, this is a small sacrifice. Remember when I said that? Because this is like a child. Now, a highly powered child is one thing. That's a decent sacrifice, which, you know, side note, personal note, don't play yourself. I wouldn't do that if I were you, because it's going to just speed up the consequences beyond, and probably intensify them worse than what they already are. But back to the reading. This is a small sacrifice, but one that he regards as potentially having enough power and potency to actually, this single lady here and this kid here, which is the essence, you know, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. But the judgment's already been called on it, you know, that you can't, it's not going down that way, because number one, justice and judgment are stopping that dead in its tracks. Everything has to be balanced from this point. You don't get to create new karma for yourself. You don't get to create new karma for anyone else. Let's put it that way. Those that have gone abused and didn't know that they were being abused are going to be justified to now have the knowledge to know. And this Nine of Pentacles is telling me that it's a liberation, you know, that they're going to receive was justified to them, whether it be masculine or feminine. There's going to be a liberation here, perhaps maybe on account of his demise, unfortunately, you know, which is why he's been holding on so tightly to every breath in his body, because that perhaps could be the exchange rate, or it just is the demise of him in general, literally being demoted down to the docile energy that he's, and subservient to who? But the source that he was hosting in the first place. And that's a terrible place to be, mind you. And that's why he doesn't want to accept that fate, because he can see the handwriting on the wall. Because, oh, I get it. What he was trying to do here is that he was trying to create a big catastrophic event on the, oh man, but how? How was he trying to do that? See, the way that I have come to discover warlock energy and how it's like almost like they, uh, like consider this as like a ball of energy that they just like start to, um, how do you say it? Like they start to come together, like mold together, like fuse together. And then it gets like launched out by way of, but the upholding of it is through these catastrophic events. So say like 9/11. 9/11 was warlock energy, where it ultimately caused a massive destruction in the United States, and it did so in such a way that caused a physical catastrophic event, but it also caused a lot of emotional and psychological damage to the country and to us as the inhabitants, not even just the country, but worldwide, because then it put everybody at odds, especially between, Arab nations and the United States, even within the United States, but abroad also. It put people in fear. It changed the traveling system where, people, you couldn't just get on a plane anymore. There were all these checks and balances. That's one example. So it's like one thing that presents itself to be this isolated event. Oh, it's just a terrorist attack. No, that was a spiritual terrorist attack for a very specific reason, to ultimately suppress the human creative consciousness lower and deeper, which is what? Bringing us into a state of fear. That as people, it's like almost as soon as people start to kind of like climb out of their shell and see the light of day, see their happily ever after, there's something that this energy sends out that ultimately puts them in a disappointed state or disfavorable about their life experiences, like they almost had it or they actually did have it. Something happens, that plan, that Two of Wands, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, back to square one, back into the system, back to where we came, and then it starts the cycle all over again in some regard, because it's like that infinity sign. You're never really getting out of the loop. It's continuous, it's eternal, and unbeknownst to those that some don't even believe that past life experiences exist, you don't even engage with that, which is also, a projection of the powers that be to keep you from expanding your consciousness to even conceive of such an idea beyond what you are experiencing now, whether it's true or false. That just even the conception of it is like deterred, because and it almost you'll feel almost like you're on the fringe of society for even thinking, some pseudo type of ideal, So there's that, right? But these are all the things, the tactics that are used ultimately, to keep us docile and to keep us from coming into our own sovereignty, where we take control of our own lives, universally and generally speaking. But back to this energy. So another one, that's a long time ago, right? 9/11 might be hard to wrap your mind around, but think about how much of an impact it made on your life personally, and then think about how it impacted the world. On every scale, there was a major impact that was incurred that ultimately made us all a little bit more fearful, a little bit more protective of our own energy, and in some ways, even though it so-called brought the country together, it also caused a lot of dissension and disconnection, culturally otherwise, like I said, between the different nations. So there's that. And what did it also do? Mind you, it ultimately fueled the political advantages of the powers that be at that time to capitalize off of that energy. Like that, the energy, the spiritual nature of us as a people is what's most potent. When you can sway that vibration, like I said, overusing and abusing your power by way of exerting it against those that are not even aware, it becomes almost like a fireball, like literally an atomic bomb, and you can point that missile in any direction you choose for it to go in. Another most recent one, obviously, is COVID. You know, regardless of where it came from, how it came about, it doesn't even matter. That was warlock energy. That was a spiritual terrorist attack on the globe to stop, even in a more aggressive way, to stop the natural evolution of divine spirits or anyone that chooses to be independent in their own mind, body, and soul. That was that energy. So the reason why the handwriting, and since then, there, you know, of course, there's been the insurgence of a 2.0, and then other little, you know, what do they call it, variants, whether it be actually of C19 or just a variant of some new epidemic or pandemic to fear, even in the sense of violence itself, you know, police brutality. All of these things are like warlock vibrations that are hosted on the people, unbeknownst to them, to create this like explosive, catastrophic experience. So first of all, using the people as the force fuel to do it, but then also ultimately inflicting their same energy onto them as the victims of it, to put them in that position to ultimately be subservient again and submissive to the system that's looking to control the masses by this way of fear. Continuously, over and over. So it doesn't want someone to be in the Page of Wands, you know, where kids are really operating in their function of creativity, you know, at a younger and younger age. You know, like he's sitting in the middle of this energy where women are coming into their power, particularly as sovereign spirits, and into the vitality of what their true value is on a spiritual and practical level. That's what this represents here. The judgment is here because that energy that used to be able to cause, you know, these events doesn't have the manpower to do so anymore. The universal order has shifted in a way that it doesn't support that, as I've already said, but it also is just time for things to be balanced out, so it can't support one spectrum over the other. It has to return, everything must return organically from whence it came at this time. I don't even know exactly why. I just know that that is the case. So that means that this like, it's been held back for so long. That's what this energy was here. It was like lording over it, making all these sacrifices, creating all this chaos. Like I said, COVID being the biggest last event that we experienced collectively, universally. So right here, that everyone was impacted by, but there have been other things too. But that's just like between my example of like 9/11, which seems like it was more national, but it had an effect globally as well, to present day. Events such as that have been working in that capacity to just keep the people suppressed and oppressed, so that they can't see this horizon of endless possibilities. They only see what you want them to see. They only see the possibilities that you tell them they're privy to, the knowledge that they're privy to, the structure that is acceptable, you know, and anything outside of that, you feel outcasted or literally on the fringes, and you're not affirmed, or, you know, like, it's a mind fuck, ultimately, is what it comes down to. Make you even almost reject yourself, you know. And if you're not going to fully accept the totality of your spiritual and physical essence, there's no way you could ever achieve anything beyond the loop that you came in here on in the first place. You know, there's a reason we're here in the first place, which was to more or less undo the doing of our past experiences, our past traumas, past toxicities, you know, turmoil from our past life, even into that has followed us into this life, and that cycle that that hamster wheel we've been running on over and over again, that is literally like a power wheel, but we don't know we're the force that's keeping it all going, literally keeping the globe turning. But those that are abusing that power and siphoning that energy know very well. And they know that if we figure it out, then we're going to start to, as more and more people do figure it out, not a if, because people are coming to their own self-awareness, but as more people are figuring it out, it's ultimately, that energy is the force fuel of the universe. It's the universal order itself. Like, we are the justice ultimately. And the more that people awaken to their possibilities and what they're worthy of, what they're capable of, what they're justifiably owed, the more that the universe has to answer, like I said, to that call and response. This is the answer to that call, As more people are awakening, it's harder for this force to siphon that fuel, and the universe is going to answer to whatever it is that we call in collectively, creatively, consciously. So little do we know, we're actually the ones that are bringing in the justice and the judgment, especially those of us that are ascended in a powerful way and have ultimately been chosen to lead a charge, for our legacy, for our dynasty, for our ancestors, for the family that we serve, the friends, the soul group that we're connected to. Like, that's what this energy is about. Like, the charge is being led. Justice and judgment are happening on account of our ascension. And it's like nothing that this energy can really do about it but to continue to try to project illusions that we're still right back where we were. Oh, you still just as insecure, or not insecure. Yeah, that too, but it's more so speaking to your like your spiritual essence of what you're truly, the spiritual essence. The power of your spiritual essence is what I'm trying to say. This energy would want to obstruct that, to keep you from actually seeing how valuable and how powerful you are, because it knows that that's its greatest adversary. Your most supreme self is the greatest adversary of demonic force, and anybody that's willing to host demonic force and entity. I feel like there's so much more to be said. I want to say it, but it's like, let's see what's on the bottom. Wow, the Queen of Wands, and there's the King. I didn't even really get to the King of Wands. And then, and this is what they want you to see. The King of Wands, the Queen of Wands, because he is on the other side of judgment after some great betrayal. They want people, whomever this objective force is, wants the masses to see themselves. Look at this. It's like, or at least to feel that this is really it. To be subservient, to feel like they're still in poverty, that you only have just enough as what the powers that be will allow you to have. You're not able to do it on your own. You're not able to be independent, confident, creative in your own regard. With the Queen and the King of Wands here, that you don't have the capacity, because the King and the Queen of Wands are creatively powerful. They can manifest anything just by way of their passion. Their force, that's their life force, to be able to have a love and a passion for something and ultimately be able to bring it to life, or bring life to whatever that thing is that they objectify. The powers that be and or were would like to keep that energy poor, depleted, to make you feel like you need actual physical resources in order to bring something to life or to existence, when that's just not how the King and Queen of Wands work. They can make something out of nothing, just by way of their passion to do so. They can also alchemize something into something else, because they operate not just in the natural force of their nature, but the spiritual force of their nature. And that's the dissension that's the disruption of truth that has been persisted in the universe, for us to always feel like we're always lacking something, that we're not enough, we don't have enough, we couldn't do enough. We can't trust ourselves in our own power. We can't trust our creativity. Our passions are perverted. We don't really know what we want. We don't know what's good for us. We don't know how, the right actions to take, like keeping us like kids, pretty much. Poor little kids is the intention here. No. That's over, and I'm going to do this like that, because we're not even going to mix these energies. This is a demonic force of that source, and this here is someone who has liberated her consciousness, her creative consciousness, by way of the Queen of Wands. And the King of Wands is here on the board. Oh, okay, because the masculine, maybe, perhaps, yes. Okay, and that's why the Page of Wands is here too, because, and I've said this in other readings before, because it was so where it couldn't necessarily be done to keep families completely obliterated, or the potential for these divine family unions and legacies and dynasties to come together, because what wasn't expected was for the feminine energy to heal herself. That it was intended that she would continue to be distorted, by way of these terroristic tactics, ultimately, these spiritual terroristic tactics, that she would continue to be distorted. And even if she were to grow, because here she's a single lady, remember? So there's still this disparity between the coming together of this union that would make this piece whole. So yes, and I've talked about this before about, the advancement of the single woman, even more specifically the single mother. There were impositions placed on her vitality that put her in that position in the first place to have to do it alone, and her surroundings were manipulated that supported that value, and then she did it alone. Now, with that came a lot of baggage of a disruption in her spiritual nature, which is why this is more Pentacle energy than it is Cups, because she found a way to ground herself vitally and to create stability and security within her own right, but it was double duty, so she was overexerted and therefore not really operating in her full feminine force to be that connective soul match for a divine union. And so that kind of leaves the masculine energy out in the cold, almost docile in a sense, because not only does he not feel needed or wanted in this dynamic where the feminine is pretty much like, I did it on my own, I could do it on my own. And maybe even if not saying that, it's the vibration that has come along, again, warlock vibrations that came along with that energy. And that one in particular was by way of disrupting urban communities with drugs and violence and poverty and things of that sort. Again, right here, right where it belongs, as a matter of fact. So all of those impositions, how they use talked about this too, how they use the systems of support for society in one regard to actually be weaponized as a means of control and subservience against a different marginalized community. So where it was supposed to be a help and a value to the people, it actually ended up being one that suppressed, i.e. the welfare and public assistance systems, that ultimately keep you enslaved to the system and make you feel like you can't get out except for, or you can't survive except for by the standards that are suppressed upon you, and you can't get out because as soon as you start to do well and do better for yourself, then they start chipping away at your support, or you almost make less doing it on your own in some regards with the opportunities that you have available than you would if you were on support. And it's just like a real fucked up situation. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that today because that's a soapbox that I don't want to I don't want to stand on right now. The point is, this energy caused a dissension. What wasn't, and it did do a great number on masculine energies, because they started to begin to not only reject themselves as being worthy of love, but they started to reject the idea of love in general and started to rely more on the activity of what? Their wand, their sexual prowess, but underdeveloped as it is in this regard with the Page of Wands, so that it's not much use to these more advancedly developed queens in the earth, feminine energies in the earth. So it was always a mismatch is what I'm saying. It was never on the same, it kept the playing field imbalanced, and they didn't even know it. They were just going about life, business as usual, just going along to get along, doing the best to survive, because that's the best that they could do. Meanwhile, all of this was going on under the surface to keep people continuously enslaved to their own spiritual misfortune, ultimately. So masculine is almost like a kid, young teenager at best. Feminine is growing and evolving and being able to take care of herself, but it's more in the masculine vibration, which is what put masculine out of his position in the first place and made him look for validation and affirmation elsewhere. Feminine energy is imbalanced because she's inflated in her masculine vibration and is being conditioned to ultimately find her validation in that role, when that's not even, she shouldn't need to be the one that's out killing the food and cooking the food, and you know what I mean? Like, there's supposed to be a balance there. It was created that way for a reason, so that everyone could operate in their highest function equally and peacefully, ultimately. But the disruption of that peace was for the intention of siphoning that energy and directing that flow, shooting that rocket, detonating that bomb wherever was necessary to do so, to ensure the power and authority stayed in the hands of the unfaithful few that have lifetime after lifetime monopolized it. Judgment card is here because, like I said, the feminine wasn't supposed to then find her spiritual evolution too. She was only supposed to keep working in that masculine energy of physical and material grounding. That she was okay as long as she was doing that. I'm every woman, it's all in me, and I don't need no man, I could do it myself. She was good on that alone, but once she started, as we speak of the divine feminine, is an evolved being that doesn't mind operating in her full feminine force and doesn't mind submitting and procreating with a masculine energy who is in his full masculine force. That's a true divine feminine. It's not a measure, it shouldn't be a DICK measuring contest when we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, because only one of them truly has the phallic. And I mean this in the essence of energy, not truly man and woman, because you could have two of the same and still there is a negative and positive charge. And I think that's what I was getting at earlier, is that when I was saying that the earth is not charged for that anymore, it's about balancing those energies so that you don't have a masculine feminine that's now, trying to be in a relationship with a so-called masculine male, but she's so, but she's so masculine that she demasculates the masculine, and he can't operate in his role, so then he becomes feminine, and then it's just nobody is really comfortable in their skin because they're not operating in their divine nature. It's different if you just are a masculine that operates naturally in your feminine energy. That's something completely different, and vice versa for a feminine. But when you feel forced to do it on account of your circumstances and your surroundings, that's where it becomes diabolical. That's where it is diabolical, and that's where the spirit steps in, as again, we call out for, like I'm hearing, like if my people would call out whatever that scripture is, like if my people would call me by name or call out to me, then I would hear them or I would answer them. Whatever that scripture is, that's the call and response to the universe. It's like when we call out now that we don't want to live like this anymore. I want to be a feminine that can be soft. What did I hear earlier when I was in meditation? Now you're going to laugh at this on first sight, at first hearing, but when I was in meditation, I was thinking in regards to the balance of masculine and feminine that I desire. It's that the feminine is for the masculine. The feminine creates a soft place to be hard, and the masculine for the feminine creates a hard place to be soft. And I know the first one is funny, when you think about it in the actual sense. And yes, that too, but that's not how I mean it. It's like the true balance that works, at least from my perspective, is to be in partnership with a masculine that doesn't mind being protective, doesn't mind taking the measures to secure my security and stability and make sure that I am in the position to be completely soft as I want to be. As I want to be, not as he thinks I should be, not as society projects that I ought to be, but as I want to be, because I'm operating in the security and soundness and sanctity of my own spirit to be able to just be natural and organic and breathe in the innate nature that I was designed to do so, to be the grace, to be the to be the love, the emotional stability, to be the flow in the relationship and in the universe as I was cultivated to be. For the masculine, who is maybe more prone to being that protector and being the conqueror, like here, this is what this energy is, to being the conqueror, to being the dominant force in some regard, to having that hard exterior where it needs to being the warrior, the protector of the home and of the union and of the dynasty, the leader in some regard, even though they both are leaders in their own right. It's just like, how do we get to lead? Do I have to wear your hat and mine, or can I just be me and you just be you? And as I said, for a masculine who has to be perhaps hard in the world, he should be able to come home and find a soft place to land, a soft place to lay his head at night, a smile to wake up to in the morning. Because as a feminine, I don't have much to worry about. I can just be me. I don't have a hard exterior, hard, frown on my mind because I'm trying to figure out how to make ends meet, how to, take care of, how to make sure that my family is safe, my son is safe and secure when we go out, when we come home. He doesn't have to worry about feeling accepted, feeling loved and valued for exactly who he is, for feeling appreciated, for just being his divine self. That's the even exchange here. And there's been so much distortion that's happened in society on a universal level, on a global scale, generally, even intimately within our own homes. This is a father figure, the emperor. The emperor is a father figure. The distortion has happened in our masculine so that the seed that they even procreate is distorted. And if it's not for the feminine, as I said, who's ultimately left with the charge to evolve herself in order to evolve her womb and evolve her seed as she's nurturing them, then the whole generation goes to shit. And that's just too much weight on the feminine's body, mind, and soul to carry all along. It has to be justified. And that's what's been calling out. The feminine's cries have been heard that we don't want to do it all on ourselves, all on our own. We know we can, but we don't want to. And in actuality, we really can't, because it can't be done well, holistically on our own. It can be managed, yeah. It can be done just well enough for us to survive, but at what cost? And what creativity? Is it holistic? And in many regards, if we can look at the state of affairs in our society as it is all over the world, no, it has not. It has not been prosperous as it can be when those energies are balanced and on one accord. And because of us calling out, calling in for justice on account of how we've been disadvantaged, how, we have been disillusioned in many ways by reality as we've come to be conditioned to know it. The judgment has been called from on high, divinely so, and that's why this energy is coming in so swiftly, because the call is that fierce and also masculine too. I'm just saying that the feminine energy has led the charge in a great regard to stand against this perpetuation of perverted passion onto her, in every way, shape, and form. And even in the physical sense, a lot of divine feminines are not even intimate right now. They are abstaining for the purposes of reserving and conserving their spiritual force. That in itself is enough to shift the dynamic in society, because masculines are now on the prowl for more of an advanced and progressive feminine in spirit and in truth. And then when they come up against her and they realize that, oh, you're not just going to slip in and slip in and out of here. Oh, no, sir, that's not what we're doing. That's feminine leading the charge, setting the bar high. And so what does that then impress upon the masculine? For him to raise the bar, because he going to get that thing, right? He need a soft place to land, a soft place to be hard, as I said. And she wants a hard place to be soft. So in order for, it's like I've said before, when you want something to change, you have to be the change that you wish to create. You make that change within yourself, and that's what a lot of feminine energies have done. It's like, yeah, we may still be single and still waiting on this happily ever after, and if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't, even though we know it's already here, by my perspective. But it's still about the commitment to ourselves being our best and being whole and well and complete as we are in our own being. And that is in itself is the attractive force that's helping to lift the vibration for other masculines to follow suit. Whereas otherwise they may not have wanted to. They may not have felt that it was necessary. Well, hell, why? If I could just get it anywhere. But now there's a knowing that there's something more to just any old thing. There's something of a greater value to connect with, to invest in, to co-create with, to procreate with, that secures their legacy on a grander scale, eternally so, and they're willing to make the proper surrender, and in some cases even sacrifice to have it. And that is the shift. Now I get it. That is the shift that has occurred, and it's happening more and more on a greater scale. It's like sweeping through the land as to why it's harder for these forces to really impose the great dramas of these, catastrophic events that they once were before. Because even when they had the 2.0 a rise of COVID, people weren't really biting like they were before. Mindsets has changed. We already been there and done that. I'm not going back in the house until y'all figure this thing out again. No, and I'm not taking your shots. No, I'm fine and good. I never even had COVID, and I don't intend to have it. And I'm washing my hands anyway, and I'm keeping myself vitamized and eating well and exercising and doing the things that I can do to contain and control my life force on my own without having to answer to anything that you say is supposed to be for my best good, let alone for my vitality. So many more people are answering to these tactics in that way, that's creating more of a triumph in the consciousness collectively than it is turmoil. Turmoil is what they can work with. They can't work with people that are operating in their highest capacity, where they know that they have a divine inheritance, that they know that they are gifts of the divine, and that they know that they are worthy of something beyond what is even tangible to perceive. There's something bigger. As I said, with the King and Queen of Wands, they work in spirit and in truth. So they're not limited by either one. That is the biggest threat. And that is why justice and judgment, and it does, and I will say, especially with these, because I know it's a reason, especially with this death energy, there could be a need to brace for this last ditch effort by way of this Pluto square and on the north node with Mars. Is the Pluto square to Mars on the north node. Now, that's prime energy for some combustion. You know, Mars is the war planet, Pluto is the death planet, the planet of endings. So there's an opportunity for there to be one last ditch effort for an advancement of some destructive force to make its power move, to try to halt all of this altogether in some way, shape, or form. But I still believe that the justice and judgment are here for a reason, that even if their best tactics were to be successful, it still wouldn't be what they have the expectation for. And it ultimately is still going to cause for them to have to abandon the intention, you know, to abandon the expectation that they were planning for altogether, because it's just not going to have the effect that they were looking for. And at this point in time, if it's not going to make the impact that is anticipated, ultimately, where is that energy going to go back to? Right back to the sender. It's ultimately going to come right back. If you even look at some of the energies that I spoke about, like say COVID, or say, you know, let's just take COVID for instance, that being like a warlock type of vibration that was an intentional spiritual terroristic attack. It still didn't end up panning out well for the powers that be, because it put a great damper on society. It put a dent in what do you call it? And the economy that we're still not out of the woods from. It made a much bigger impact. It's like they cut off their nose to spite their face ultimately. And when I say they, I mean this demonic force, because it's not the president, it's not the Senate, it's not the, you know, the justice system, it's no system in particular. It's princes and principalities that are in alignment to be hosts of this demonic force. That could be anyone, like I said, at the highest point of power to the most intimate point of power, right in your very own home or right in your very own town, you know? So it's just whomever is willing to be in alignment and agreement with this aggravation as it is. And like I said, it still didn't really, it made the impact, but it wasn't sustainable in the ways that it was intended to be, because it actually shook a lot of people loose to see like, man, I could be doing my own business. I got talent that I could rely on myself, or I could start, you know, I would rather be more home with my family. I'd rather invest my time doing things that, again, what is it? That lead to peace, happiness, and joy. It averted our attention in many ways collectively to what we would rather be doing with our time and energy, as opposed to what we feel we have to do with our time and energy. And yeah, some things are back to normal in some regard, at least on the surface, but that seed has already been planted to know what's possible. So that even for me, when I went back to work, I still had a different mentality about what work really truly was for me and what was possible beyond it, to the point where my days were numbered, you know, being at work once I went back after COVID. I had that nudge in my spirit that I couldn't even ignore eventually, and then my environment started to push me out in a certain way. So I had to ultimately walk away from what I thought was a good investment to see what else was on the horizon. That wasn't intended. That wasn't planned for in this diabolical plot. They thought it would just scare people enough to be happy with whatever morsels they were given post coming out of quarantine or coming up from out of the darkness into the light, like, yes, sir, may I please have some more type of energy. And that we would take whatever they gave. But in fact, it's come down to now they have to take whatever we're willing to give. That they can only operate as much as the people are willing to invest and commit and contribute to the system as it is. Now they're having to change the structure in a way that suits the masses if they want to operate in that force at all anymore. So as we continue again to call out for that change, that creativity, that shifting from our own innate passions, from what we desire to be, do, and have, the universe has no choice but to shift to our petitions. That's in spirit and that's in truth. And that's what it is now. So like I said, you can brace for whatever they may try to do throughout this transit. I think it's something it was from the 4th to, I want to say, either, what is it, maybe the 11th or something like that, and not to put a date on it, because who knows what, it could be something amazing going on throughout this time, and I wouldn't want you to be distracted looking for some disaster when you really should be keeping your eye out for your ships to come in, your blessings to sail on into you. That's another ploy of the demonic force, to keep you distracted on what impending danger might be on the horizon, when you really are just looking for your gifts, your ships. They're sailing in, period. So regardless, I say be indifferent to whatever come what may, and know that if you have been harvesting, sowing seeds, if you have been sowing into good ground, into good soil, sowing into yourself, being the best that you can possibly be in any environment, with anyone you come across, doing whatever it is you do, whether it be at home, at work, in entertainment, in business, in the medical field, in the judicial system, in the legal, whatever you do, as long as you are answering to the highest vibration and frequency of you, you have something great to look forward to. You, as it says, can look forward to this day, not tomorrow, but this day, leading you to peace, to happiness, and to joy. And I pray that that fulfillment be now and forevermore, in spirit and in truth, as it always was intended to be, and as it always shall be. All right? It is so. Thank you so much for listening. I know this was a little long and it took a bit for me to get it out, and I know it was kind of all over the place, so I hope that you can take what resonates and leave the rest, and that you receive the promise of prosperity as it already is on your life as something that you can truly receive and grasp now. It doesn't have to be a forward. It says this day. Let this be the day that your life is happy, fulfilled, and joyful in the most prosperous way possible. All right? Don't delay. Let it be today. All right, thanks so much again. I'll talk to you soon. And for now, as always, I'll leave you with peace.